Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Wonderful to have you all with us and to have Joel Schweitzer, the Regional Director of the American Jewish Committee, came here from Dallas to be with us this Shabbat. Also, all of you who are watching at home, Shabbat Shalom. It's good to have you with us as well, wherever you're watching from. This Shabbat is yet another opportunity for awareness, another opportunity to stop and take account of the blessings from the last week and the challenges, and also to recollect on what we might have missed, what we might want to capture in the coming week, in the speed of our days and the rushing of our world to mark the moments of holiness. And so tonight, we offer the opportunity, something we're trying, to light a Shabbat candle if you have not done so yet. And so we'll be singing for a few minutes. You'll be welcome to join in with us as you wish, and you are more than welcomed while we're singing to come up and light one of the tea candles. Keep an eye on the plant. Let's light the candles, not the building. And if you're at home, this is an opportunity to light your own Shabbat lights with us if you wish, and to make Shabbat in your home while we make Shabbat here in our temple home. And so we continue singing, and in a few minutes we'll turn to the blessing over candles on 120. But first we begin in song, and we look to those first brave people, as you know, crossing the sea. The first one takes a foot in, they do something new. I know everybody else will follow.
With goodness and mercy and peace.
Please join us on page 142 for Shalom Aleichem.
Page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bohem Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sechem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamakim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzva'am. Then earth and heaven were finished. On the seventh day, God finished the work of doing and ceased. And God paused to look at all the work that had been done and declared the seventh day to be holy, because on that day there was awareness, cessation, pause. On this Shabbat, we take a moment with our candles lit, and before we turn to the next section of our service, to wish each other Shabbat Shalom. And what do we take with us into the next week with our pause? Now, if that sounds too vague, what accomplishment, or what hope, or what wish, what good deed, or one task left undone, perhaps a birthday, perhaps another year of life and joy, perhaps something left unfinished that we hope to do, perhaps some good news. It's open-ended on purpose. So don't just take a moment to say Shabbat Shalom to someone around you, but Shabbat Shalom with a thought, a wish, thanksgiving, a goal, or something good you just want to share from the last week. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
With all of those blessings and wishes, we turn to 144, actually first 145, and then we turn to 144. Let's read together in the middle of the page, and then we will continue with the Chatzi Kaddish, which moves us into our prayer service. 145. Together, teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer, on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. My day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shmei Rabba, B'yamad Yirachim B'yamim Bakutei, B'chayechol U'yomechol U'vayechol Beit Yisrael, B'agala U'bizman rise, page 146, the Baruch. Page 148 together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are a creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Amarim Aravim. Please be seated as we continue together with the English of V'ahavta, page 155. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. In our Torah portion this week, Moses and Pharaoh begin their showdown. Next week, we walk through the plagues, even though it is months till Passover. And then in just a couple of weeks, we come to Beshalach, the Song of the Sea. And we are reminded once again that physically the journey is crossing the water. Emotionally, it is seeing the value in ourselves and in every single other person. Only then, when we are free and we see our mission as freedom, have we truly attained a moment of free life. Page 158. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot oseh feleh, nora tehilot oseh feleh. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, baruch ata Adonai, ga'al Yisrael. Page 161 on top. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, v'kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'koreh oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'koreh oneg Shabbat. Mekadosheh sheli Shabbat, kulam yisraelu v'yitkamdu mikduveh haShabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'koreh oneg Shabbat. Ulvasdi ratzita bo v'kikash shel Shabbat, kenad yamim v'tov narat haShabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'koreh oneg Shabbat. Zecher l'maaseh v'reshit Shabbat, zecher l'maaseh v'reshit Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha, shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'koreh oneg Shabbat. Page 164. O God, open up our lips. Help us to find the words in the joyous and in the broken. At all times, help us to feel your presence closer. We begin together, and then you can feel free to continue on your own in Hebrew or English or your own prayers. We begin standing, and then you can continue silently however you wish.
That my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu V'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Haggadol, Hagibor ve'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasadei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevei Yulah Yivnei Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach V'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Malin Avram Le'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mekayeh Hakol Hatar L'Choshia, Mekayeh Hayim Le'chesed, Mekayeh Hakol Be'rakamim Rabim, Somek Noflim Merofeh Holin, U'Matir Asurim, U'Mekayeh Emunato, Yishenei Ha'afar, Mikamo Kamayam Yodumrot, U'Midom Elach, Melech Memit, U'Mkayeh, U'Masmiach Yeshua, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekayeh Ha'avot, atah kadosh v'shivcha kadosh, u'kedoshim b'chol yom v'yomim ha'selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el Ha'kadosh.
Feel free to continue standing or seated however you wish on the next few pages. It is wonderful to have Joel Schweitzer with us here this Shabbat. The idea behind Voices of Faith, which could just be the rabbis inviting guests, but it was not intended as rabbi inviting guests. The idea is to bring in people doing different work in the DFW community, Jewish and non-Jewish, for whom it is about more than just paying the bills. I'm sure some days it is about paying the bills. But for whom, what?
It's almost April, so yeah.
It's almost April. But for whom their work is sacred works, God work, holy work, as a way to inspire us. And that is very much true of Joel Schweitzer, the regional director of the American Jewish Committee for Texas, Northern Texas, Oklahoma, this area, based out of Dallas. The work he and the American Jewish Committee do is so essential in bridging the divide, bringing together communities, keeping the lines of communication open, dialogue between different groups. It is more essential than it has ever been. The American Jewish Committee and Joel's office, although they are based out of Dallas, their impact has been felt here in Tarrant County in any number of programs. You may remember a program here around a year ago, it all blurs together, that the AJC put together. In addition, there was an incredible interfaith Seder experience that took place at a church closer to Colleyville, in which Muslims and evangelicals and other Christians and Jews all gathered together for a meal in the middle of Passover. So the meal had to meet the needs of the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, and we all got gathered together to eat and to talk and to dialogue. It was an incredible evening. Those kinds of things come about through the action of the American Jewish Committee. They do a great deal in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to open the lines of communication, to get people talking. And when those lines are broken, and the rest of us are sort of trying to figure out what to do, Joel Schweitzer and his office are trying to keep them open. They are continuing to talk to all their different constituents. He'll tell you more about what he does because it's his presentation. But I want to say just a word or two about him. He has worked at the American Jewish Committee Dallas office since 2015. His prior jobs included work in Hillel and work at the Federation, both in Dallas and in the Durham Chapel Hill office. He has been active and worked for the American Defamation League. He has served on any number of task forces, a whole list of them. I'll mention, too, the Dallas Task Force on Welcoming Communities and Immigrant Affairs. He's been hard at work on making sure that these communities are open to immigrants, the immigrant experience, making them safe and welcoming places. He's also on the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport Advisory Committee, which my mentor, Rabbi Larry Jakowski, was on. So I wondered who was representing the Jews there. So thank you. And they do incredible work, too. You can imagine some of the scenarios that come up for our chaplains and others at that international airport. He works very closely advocating in the Dallas area for Jews, Latinos, Muslims, trying to keep welcoming communities open. And I should add a word that not only does he have two wonderful kids, Chana and Miriam, who I know from Green Family Camp and growing up and all kinds of things, but also his wife, Barry, who has held a number of jobs in the Dallas area and is a friend and is currently the Director of Adult Education and Engagement Coordinator at Temple Emmanuel of Dallas. There's a lot more that is on his bio, but I'm stopping there to give him all the time he needs to share with us some of the work of the American Jewish Committee. I will say that one of the amazing things the American Jewish Committee does is a World Global Forum, and he's been saying for years, so this year I'm going in June, and then he said, why not invite a few congregants? And I said, well, if I just get up here and say, come, they're going to say, what are you talking about? So in addition to your comments, you can also make sure to put out a good pitch for the World Global Forum that'll be in June in Washington, D.C., and thank you for coming to Dallas tonight.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I feel like I could have just let Rabbi Zimmerman go for about another minute and a half, call it a night, and wish you a good Shabbos, but you're not so lucky. I'm a big Talking Heads fan. I know that was exactly how you thought this was going to start. I hope that those of you for whom that resonates took the opportunity to see the recent 40th anniversary IMAX re-release of Stop Making Sense. Incredible. That said, I'm not here tonight to make you feel old, which I probably just did for several of you. I'm not here to explore the undisputable collective greatness of David Byrne, Tina Weymouth, Chris France, and Jerry Harrison, but I'm here to answer a question first posed by Byrne in the song Once in a Lifetime from their seminal 1980 album, Remain in Light. How did I get here? You see, when I was growing up in Dallas at Temple Shalom, I was that kid. I'm sure you've seen this kid, or maybe you were that kid, who did one of three things during high holiday services. I would either count how many pages left until the end of the service so I knew I could go home, or I was the kid that would look up the ceiling and count the light fixtures. Miraculously, I would forget how many there were every from Erev Rosh Hashanah until the morning, so I had to count them again the next morning to make sure there was still the same amount, or I would just sleep, as made famous by the year when I was in 8th grade, and one of the local news affiliates came to do a story on Rosh Hashanah for the 10 o'clock news, and they got a great shot of me falling asleep in synagogue. And for some reason, I guess because in the early 80s, we didn't have the number of channels we have now, the kids in my 8th grade class actually watched the news, and so I got lots of razzing the next day about sleeping through high holiday services. So I was that kid who not only did one of those three things, I did all three of those things. In addition to that, as many of you either did in high school or had your kids do or saw your grandkids do in high school, I went to Israel on the Dallas Teen Tour, the community trip, but I had a problem with that because the day after that trip left was the night that Bob Dylan and Tom Petty were doing the one time they toured together was that year, and I had camped out for tickets, so I complained to my parents, and I said, no, I can't go. I'm so afraid of going to Israel. Please don't send me there. They stuck to their guns. They sent me, and so you have them to blame for my being here in part. But I guess to really answer the question, how did I get here, it's important to establish a little bit of background about where here is. Where exactly is that? What is the American Jewish Committee? I think I might have heard of it, but I'm just not sure what that means. What role does AJC play in the diverse and often confusing landscape of Jewish institutions, and what's its impact? AJC was founded in 1906, and very true to its name, believe it or not, it started as a literal committee of American Jews who shared a growing concern about pogroms occurring throughout the former Soviet Union. They came together to advocate to their government to come to the aid of Jews under an existential threat halfway around the world. Does this sound familiar, like anything we're experiencing today, maybe? Over the ensuing 118 years, AJC has evolved into the preeminent global advocacy organization for the Jewish people. And we do our work in a manner that is fiercely bipartisan and is focused on our three priorities: combating anti-Semitism, strengthening existing and building new relationships with Israel, and promoting pluralism, democratic values, while combating extremism. And our advocacy efforts are focused not only locally here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, in North Texas, in Oklahoma, but also with diplomats, foreign ministers, and heads of state around the world. We're not supposed to use this phrase anymore, but I love it so much I'm going to do it anyway. Don't tell our new CEO, Ted Deutsch. But Shimon Peres used to refer to AJC as the State Department of the Jewish people. And it really was an apt designation because in any given year, AJC engages meaningfully with 110 out of the 193 UN member states. That happens right here in Texas with the consulates. It happens at the UN. It happens in Washington, D.C. at the embassies. And it happens in other countries as we travel. We send about a dozen delegations to different countries over the course of any given year, from Asia to the Middle East and everything in between. So to provide a few key examples from our century plus of advocacy that speak a little bit to the depth and breadth of AJC's impact. And again, it's just scratching the surface because we could be here all night. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court went on to cite research provided by AJC, funded by AJC, as essential in informing the landmark Brown versus Board of Education decision. In 1992, those of us of a certain age will remember the Arab boycott of Israel in the 80s and 90s. In 1992, Japan ended its participation in the Arab boycott of Israel and credited AJC through its years of quiet diplomacy in ending that embargo and greatly enhancing Japan's ties with Israel. And those continue today. In fact, every year, AJC Access, our Young Leadership Department, does a trip called the Kakahashi. Kakahashi means bridges. And we do this program in conjunction with the Japanese foreign minister. We just had one of our young leaders go to Japan with AJC in partnership with the foreign ministry to learn how AJC and Japan work together, to learn how Japan supports its Jewish community, its very small, nascent, mostly expat Jewish community, and how they maintain and strengthen their ties with Israel. And then finally, in 2019, AJC signed a groundbreaking MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with the Muslim World League, which is a Gulf-based organization that's one of the most influential organizations in the Muslim world. In January of 2020, so thankfully we got this in right before COVID, this led to the two organizations partnering together to bring the most senior delegation of Jewish and Muslim leaders ever to Auschwitz to bear witness to the horrors of the Holocaust. And in fact, the depth of our diplomacy in the Arab world is so deep. We've been going to countries that are now in the Accords, like Bahrain and the UAE and Morocco, for 25 years or more. And when the Accords were signed in 2020, we were able to very quickly open an office in Abu Dhabi, the Sidney J. Lerner Center for Arab-Jewish Understanding. And it is headed by a man named Mark Sievers, who prior to his time with AJC was the U.S. ambassador to Oman. So when I say we do diplomacy on behalf of the Jewish world, we truly do diplomacy on behalf of the Jewish world. So simultaneously, that's both a lot of information and just a mere scratch of the surface. And so I want to honor my assignment for this evening and focus why I personally, proudly and enthusiastically get out of bed every morning to do this work. I have been what my younger sister once referred to as a professional Jew for nearly 30 years. And in that time, as Rabbi Zimmerman said, I have held positions at organizations like BBYO, a couple of different federations, and ADL. And I've truly loved and cherished each role that I've had the privilege of holding. However, I feel fortunate that I've had the opportunity twice in my career to hold positions that were a perfect reflection of my passions, leveraged my skill sets, and allowed me to advance my core values, my personal core values, in a way that was simply the perfect fit for who I was at that time in my life. And the first of these was as a Hillel director, which I did for nearly 10 years, both here in North Texas. In fact, once upon a time, I was the Hillel person for, among other campuses, the good Jewish students up the street at TCU, in addition to UNT and UTD and others, but mostly at the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, which some of you may know celebrated its 100th anniversary and was the founding Hillel. I was there for 7 years, from 2003 to 2010. And for me, that was the first time I found a profession that really exemplified who I am, who my values are, what I hope to accomplish in this world as part of Klal Yisrael. Taking young people to Israel for the first time on birthright, ensuring students could celebrate Shabbat and holidays, or thrive on campus as proud Zionists, helping them map out what meaningful Jewish engagement meant for them at a time when they were just beginning to make decisions about what kind of Jewish adults they want to be as they began life from outside from under their parents' roof. and I found this role to be absolutely the perfect fit for Joel Schweitzer in his 30s. However, living in a small college town where virtually everything that happened Jewishly was work either for me, my wife Barry, who at the time was director of education for the only synagogue in town, or both, eventually took its toll, and in order to focus on my own family's Jewish life, we made the tough decision to move on. And the two professional roles I held in the Jewish world between Hillel and AJC, with the Jewish Federation of Durham Chapel Hill and with ADL, were fulfilling. I felt I played a meaningful role in advancing important work. However, I found myself missing that sense of a perfect syncing of my personal passions with my professional role. So in the fall of 2015, I was lucky enough to be able to begin my tenure as regional director of AJC. And it's, as you heard, it's a big organization with a mission that's both focused on those three priority areas, but broad within those areas. So there's a lot to get your arms around, and it took me a while to do so. But about 6 months into my tenure with AJC, I had an epiphany, and I realized that just as I had with Hillel, I realized that AJC had become that perfect role for me at this juncture of my life. And I've continued to feel that every single day of the 8 years since. But tonight's assignment really has made me explore the more important question: why? What makes regional director for AJC a uniquely good fit for me? And I am hoping that my colleagues and lay leaders that are involved would say the reverse as well. The list of reasons is longer than I could take the time to go to here, so I'll limit myself just to a few. First, AJC is fiercely nonpartisan. In a world in which partisan rancor and division seem to hit new and unprecedented levels on a daily basis, AJC remains committed to working as honest brokers on both sides of the aisle to advance those core priorities I spoke about earlier. We call balls and strikes. We work with people, Democrat, Republican, Independent. We work with everyone. Many organizations purport to be nonpartisan because of their requirement as a 501c3, and I find that frequently it amounts to lip service. But AJC, we only advocate for legislation that has both Democratic and Republican co-sponsors. We stress the importance of being swivel-headed when it comes to calling out anti-Semitism. We name it unequivocally, whether it comes from the left or from the right. And we build robust bipartisan coalitions like the Jewish Latino Alliance, the Muslim Jewish Advisory Council, and Community of Conscience to bring diverse thought leaders together to create a more pluralistic and a more civil society. Secondly, the entrepreneurial way that AJC carries out its mission, and this is nothing new for AJC. So for example, our advocacy played a major diplomatic role in what became Nostra Aetate, the 1965 doctrinal change in the Catholic Church that removed the charge of deicide, the murder of Jesus, from Catholic teachings, and recognized the special relationship between Judaism and Christianity. And in the process, it opened the floodgates for Catholic-Jewish reconciliation. In 2016, AJC realized that just as Catholic-Jewish relations were the great interfaith challenge of the 20th century, Muslim-Jewish relations are that today. And it took courageous investments of time and resources, as well as a vision, to embark on this journey. With a national council co-chaired by 2 Fortune 500 CEOs, with members like Rabbis Angela Buchdahl and David Saperstein, and Deborah Lipstadt, as well as names on the Muslim side that would be just as well known to our counterparts from the Muslim community, AJC has set up 9 regional councils, including one here in North Texas, where we have become a model for excellence, winning national recognition for our work. In fact, the Pesach Iftar that Rabbi Zimmerman spoke about before, we won a national award for. And our national director of interfaith and interreligious relations, when I told him that we wanted to do an Iftar dinner during Passover in order to commemorate the role that Muslim-Jewish relations played in community healing and resiliency after the Colleyville hostage situation with Rabbi Charlie, he said to me, "Joel, you can't do a kosher for Passover dinner. It can't be done." And I laid out why I thought it could, and he ended up coming in to be one of the speakers at that iftar. Those of you who are there may remember Rabbi Noam Marins, my colleague who came in to speak. And I'm even prouder to say that when we were awarded Interfaith Program of the Year from AJC, he was the one who had to hand me that award, and he was very proud to do so. And what I loved about that, not only did we have to figure out, as Rabbi Zimmerman was saying, how are we going to feed people in a way that makes all Jews. We also had to figure out, okay, North Texas people, I mean, I don't know about Fort Worth, but in Dallas, we don't know from Keller. And this church, Northwood Church, is in Keller, Texas. So we rented buses. And we had one bus at a mosque in Richardson, and we had another bus at a synagogue in North Dallas, and we had Jews and Muslims get on buses together to go to a mega church in Keller to enjoy a kosher for Passover, Ramadan dinner, and break the fast together. So that's the power of AJC. And that work has continued, even during what I know we all are way too aware are challenging, difficult, heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching times. Last month, we were able to convene a meeting for 40 Jewish and Muslim leaders from Tarrant, Dallas, and Calhoun counties with the top leadership of the local FBI and his command staff and the local U.S. attorney and her top civil rights person. And we called that meeting to ensure that our communities had relationships with law enforcement, to understand the steps that they are taking to keep us safe, and to become aware of how to report hate crimes. And in the process, we created back channels to discuss challenging issues together with trusted neighbors, because we've gotten to know each other over the course of the last 7 years that we've worked together. And I think just as important as us being able to tell law enforcement what the Jewish community concerns and experiences have been with anti-Semitism since October 7th, and for the Muslim community to be able to share those. I was talking to some colleagues the other day. I said, well, it's kind of like putting spinach in the smoothies that you give your kids, because it also gave the Muslim community a chance to hear what the concerns and experiences the Jewish community has had, and vice versa. And it was a very powerful afternoon. Third, during a critical time for world Jewry, I feel like I'm working every day to further the unfinished work of ensuring that my kids, my daughters Hannah and Miriam, and your kids and grandkids, our next generation, live in a world where they can be proudly Jewish, where college students feel safe and supported on campus. I said it was unfinished work, and those of you who have been paying attention to the news know that's very unfinished work, but you gotta get up in the morning and exert that effort. Where young Jewish professionals can bring their whole self to work, and which Jews can actively engage in social causes that speak to their passions without having to hide their identities or be made to choose between their Jewish identity and their cherished causes. And towards that end, I'm proud that my kids have been involved with AJC. In high school, they both participated in our advocacy training, Leaders for Tomorrow, or LIFT. My daughter Hannah is a 2-time veteran of the Global Forum, the annual conference that Rabbi Zimmerman spoke about. And she's been to Global Forum both in New York and Tel Aviv. My wife also participates in this annually, and so we've been able to make AJC a true family affair. If my other daughter wasn't working at Green every summer, she would go too. This work truly provides me with a platform to merge my professional identity with my personal values, and I'm so appreciative of the opportunity not just to come and speak today, but to really spend time reflecting on my personal journey, my professional journey, and I'd also like to thank for the opportunity to plug the Global Forum, because it is, and you know, having worked for the so many members of the alphabet soup of Jewish organizational life, I've been to all the conferences. I've been to the JFNA General Assembly back when it was called the UJC General Assembly, to give you an idea of how old I am. I've been to several APAC policy conferences. I've been to ADL summits, and I've been to Hillel conferences, and I can honestly say that the AJC Global Forum is head and shoulders above them all. And one reason why so many of these conferences end up being talking point festivals where you just get hammered with the same set of talking points session after session after session. AJC really is more nuanced and thoughtful than that. The centerpiece of every global forum is always a program called The Great Debate, where we will literally take an issue that is challenging to the Jewish community, get two top speakers from opposite sides, and they will literally have a debate about that topic. And it is a wonderful thing to see at a major Jewish conference. In addition to that, we engage with elected officials, with foreign leaders, with thought leaders from civil society, from the interfaith world, from the diplomatic world, from elected office, and we have the opportunity to truly engage around some of the most pressing current issues for world Jewry. And in this time in particular, in this time of uncertainty and turmoil, this is really the moment that your voice matters. So I hope you will consider joining us in Washington, D.C., June 9th to 11th. And one of the things that I especially love about the fact that Rabbi Zimmerman has signed up to go is that when a congregational rabbi registers, and if you don't still have the code, let me know and I'll track it down for you, he gets a code that will allow a limited number of discounted registrations, and I think they take a third off the registration cost for people to attend. So I hope you'll consider being with us in Washington, D.C. And in the meantime, if your kid falls asleep in services or starts counting the lights or starts making up excuses why maybe you shouldn't send them to Israel, don't worry about them. They'll be okay. Make them go on that Israel trip, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And thank you so much for sharing. Joel will be around a little bit after services. He's got to get to Dallas to his family, but we'll be around a little bit after services. Or I can connect you with him if you have questions about what he said. Or the World Forum, he had said to me, tell everybody about the World Forum. And I said, well, I haven't been there yet. So when I say, well, there's national speakers and international speakers and great breakouts, he'll say, tell me more. And I'll say, I don't know, I've never been. So, but he can tell you what I should expect. But it has a great reputation and it's a great opportunity. So thank you very much. Thank you for that. At this challenging time, we know that many of the things you shared bring up other memories and other concerns because we live in a world with great possibility, but we also live in a world that is deeply, deeply broken, and we want Shabbat to bring us a little bit of a break, a respite from that. But it's still out there. And so we take a moment. We take a moment for prayer. We take a moment to think of all who are in healing. We mention the names of Christopher Long and Jeannie Rosenblum, Ann Westerman, Barbara Leffer, Susie Kornblit, Peter Levy, Gordon Brody, Lee Ansbacher, Judy Cohen, Karen Kaplan, Sandra Sharp, Jay Martin, Ed Solomon, Lane Solomon, Irv Rubinson, Melanie Cooper Welsh, Sharon Brenner, Rena Arnold, Cheryl Zimmerman, and other names you might wish to add for our prayer of healing. The whole Schweitzer clan. They all get one. Richard Simon. Thank you.
Charles Boyles and Michael Boyles.
Paula and Sammy.
And all those who are broken and in need of healing, we pray the prayer of wholeness that is part of the mission of the AJC, that those who are still hostages will be freed, that those families that were broken will soon be made whole. We pray that all innocent people suffering, we pray for their restoration of food and health, and we pray that this war will lead to a security and a safety and a peace that is elusive. If you wish to follow along, page 371, O God who brings healing, give us the tools to bring healing and wholeness. Page 586, we rise for Aleinu before the open ark. Please be seated. As I was coming into service, as I walked through the sanctuary, and even though we're in the chapel tonight, there was the reminder with all of the Yortzeit lights on in the darkened room. By the way, if you have a Yortzeit, feel free to peek in the sanctuary. Little lights that remind us of far more significant lives. And so as we read in our prayer book, this is the time when we remember the lights, the stars up above, the people who are gone but who still shine, even though they are no longer with us. This is the time that we remember the ways they lit our lives, the impact they made in our communities and in our temples, all the places in which they lived. And so it is our custom for those who are comfortable to rise, if you wish, when you hear the name of one who you are remembering this Shabbat. We note the Yartzites, the anniversaries of their deaths observed this Shabbat. Paul Alcon, Isaac Babani, Kevin Lawrence Berlin, Esther Bach, Benjamin Thomas Bresser, Ida Baumgarten, Nathan Brownhill, Malcolm Cohen, Anna Shaw Friedson, Bernard W. Goldman, Sarah Goldstick, Harold Goodman, Ida Greenberg, Hulda Guggenheim, Celia Potter, Linda Hoffman, Jerome Cantor, Molly Solomon Klein, Lillian L. Klotzman, Betty Cohn, Rosalie Crockwell, Charles Landman, Miriam Levitan, Gilbert Levy, Rabbi Harry A. Murfeld, Mildred Miller, Jacob Milner, Stuart M. Morowitz, Rachel M. Newmagan, Samuel M. Posnock, Sidney Ramey, Laura Rohrbach, Dorothy Rosen, Henry Rosenberg, Sally Rosenblum, Dan Rosenthal, Herman Rosenzweig, Rebecca Sandberger, Hyman Sankari, Esther Shamus, Hannah Simon, Ray Simon, Dorothy Solomon, Stan Steiner, Ida Wheel, Anita Loeb Weiner, Dorothy Weinschenker, Evan Westerman, Meyer L. Weil, Joseph Wolfson, Deborah Zelazny. And we mentioned during this time, your sites, in this 30-day period of mourning known as Shloshim, those who have been laid to rest in the past 30 days. We mentioned Sanunda Bantwal, William Westerman, and Winnie Simon. A memorial service for Winnie will take place among friends and family at Trinity Terrace between 11 and 1 p.m. next Thursday. As we think of them and so many others, those who lie in unmarked graves and those who are remembered daily, we all rise to offer strength for all who have passed, as we join on page 598 with the words of affirmation of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach erute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agalau v'zman karid v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yital shmei d'kudsha b'rechu. Min kol berachata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiram yalmal v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemai v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Say shalom l'mramah hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha. May their memories light the way for us and be a blessing. And we say, Amen. Please be seated. Before our closing song, a reminder first that there is religious school this Sunday and all the other events. It's supposed to be bad weather after 1 o'clock. If that doesn't change, don't blame me if you decide to sleep in. There will be religious school. We have every intention. If there isn't, that information will be on the website, and you could check it at 9 a.m. But we are planning to have religious school and all the classes that meet. The Hebrew at 12:15 might be a little dicier, but we'll play it by ear. In addition, a reminder that there is a special concert here next Sunday night. You can read about it in your announcement service sheet. Wednesday night. I'm thinking about the weather and Sunday. Wednesday night. Thank you. Wednesday night, January 17th, Chamber Music Society of Fort Worth. All funds raised will be given to the Galilee Medical Center. Very, very important. The weather will be better again by Wednesday, or better enough that you can drive here. Please come, and not only that, please RSVP, because we're figuring out what room to have the concert, and there's a lot of planning that goes into that. So please do RSVP whether you're watching at home here. There are other wonderful announcements coming up. Do check your service sheets or the online e-blast or the temple website. Following our closing song, we will make Kiddush and Motzi here, and we'll be using the challah tray that was created and donated in memory of Linda. This Shabbat is a time to remember that it was important to her that we always have a home-baked challah, and yes, we do. I just peeked. Every week since her passing, we have had one, so it continues. Thanks to all who have made that possible in this year of memory. Our closing song is the final verse of the Kaddish prayer. May God, who makes peace above, help us to have the tools to bring peace here. Oh, say shalom, bimroma. Turn to page 123. There you can find the blessing over wine and juice. And if anyone would like to help me, you know who you are. Come on up to help with the kiddush and with the grape juice. We join together with the blessing over, please, wine and juice and just the joy of Shabbat. Eloheinu melech haolam, borei uri ha'afeh. Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam,
Asher bishanu mitzvotav v'ratzanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahavot u'ratzon ichilanu, zikaron ma'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom tikriah l'nivrei kodesh, zeh eretz yiyat Mitzrayim, ki baruch acharta
v'tanu imashta mikol. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you again, Joel. And if you're visiting and came late, come say hello before you go. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you to the choir. Have a warm, safe Shabbat.